What you are about to hear will make you view parenting your children in a completely new light. This shocking story involves a 17-year-old girl who was brutally murdered and buried by her own boyfriend. I truly believe that watching this video could save your child's life. Jayden Parkinson was a girl who radiated joy and a love for life. Her slightly mischievous nature harmoniously combined with her natural charm. From her early years, there was a special bond between Jayden and her mother, filled with love and trust. The girl's openness and friendliness helped her make many friends at school. Everyone who knew Jayden noted her sensitivity, cheerful disposition, and kind heart. Studies came easily to her, and her dream of becoming a hairdresser inspired her to move forward. However, at the age of 7, Jayden's life underwent a dramatic change. Her parents decided to divorce, and custody of Jayden, as well as her siblings, was unexpectedly awarded to her father by the court. Together with the children, he moved to Oxford in the United Kingdom. This move was a real shock for the Parkinson family, especially for the children, who were used to the atmosphere of love created by both parents. They missed the fun holidays and pleasant surprises that mom and dad used to arrange for them. It remained a mystery how the father managed to get custody of the children. It was clear to everyone that this decision was a real blow to both the children and their mother, hitting Jayden especially hard as she had an extremely close relationship with her mom. Family friends claimed there were no obvious conflicts or negativity between the couple. However, despite all efforts, the mother failed to defend her right to stay with the children. The teenage years brought new trials for Jayden. Her irrepressible energy and rebellious spirit complicated her father's attempts to manage her upbringing. Despite the fact that the girl retained her kindness, charm, and wonderful sense of humor, she faced typical problems of adolescence, especially after moving to high school. Relations with her father became increasingly strained. Despite his sincere attempts to surround the children with care and provide them with everything they needed, he was stricter and more demanding compared to their mother. At this age, Jayden perceived her father's care as a restriction of freedom and a manifestation of excessive control. The situation was aggravated by the lack of regular communication with her mother, whom the girl missed terribly. All this led to constant conflicts and misunderstandings. In search of understanding and support, Jayden began to run away from home. This problem, unfortunately, is quite common among teenagers. However, the girl did not wander the streets or associate with questionable companies. Instead, she would immediately go to her mother to spend time in the comfort of her home. At the same time, Jayden did not stop communicating with her father, answered his calls, but at the first opportunity, tried to return to her mother because it was with her that she felt truly loved and understood. Despite all the trials, the special bond between mother and daughter remained. It seemed that the difficulties of adolescence only strengthened their relationship. During one of these visits to her mother, 14-year-old Jayden met a guy named Jake Blakeley and through him, his older brother Ben. At that time, Ben was already 20 years old. Despite the significant age difference, a mutual attraction arose between Jayden and Ben, and they decided to try to build a relationship. This decision caused an ambiguous reaction in those around them. Some believed that such a choice of partner indicated the emotional immaturity of the young man. However, Jayden herself seemed very attracted to the idea of dating an older guy. Of course, due to her age, she still remained naive and could not always cope with her emotions and feelings. But despite all the warnings, a romantic relationship full of hopes and expectations for a happy future began between these two young people. Jayden dreamed of a happy future, not realizing that her fate was already in the hands of a dangerous person. From the moment Ben became Jayden's boyfriend, he began to actively integrate into her environment, striking up acquaintances with his girlfriend's classmates. Despite the obvious difference in life experience and views, he managed to find a common language with the school children and even to some extent become a leader for them. In parallel with this, Ben began to surround Jayden with excessive attention and care, which made the girl fall head over heels in love with him. It seemed that he completely captured her thoughts and feelings. Ben would tell her about a bright future together, paint vivid pictures of their life, and build castles in the air. The naive young Jayden believed that it was with him that she would be able to achieve the happiness that her parents had once failed to achieve. But the period of romance and carefree life did not last long. Later, Ben's behavior began to take on more and more possessive and manipulative features. Insults and humiliation began just a month after the start of their relationship. He first allowed himself to treat Jayden rudely. The girl, who found herself in a relationship with a guy much older than her, began to look for reasons for such a change in herself and her possible shortcomings. Ben masterfully exploited her insecurity. Noticing that Jayden was succumbing to his influence, he found fault with any little things in her behavior or words, arranging real emotional swings for her. At one moment, he could say how charming and beautiful she was, and the next moment accuse her of terrible things. Jealousy became a frequent reason for accusations. Ben would come up with a variety of reasons to accuse Jayden of betrayal and deception. It was during this period that the girl found out that her boyfriend was periodically using illegal substances. His emotional instability and mood swings were partly explained by this fact, but all signs indicated that verbal abuse would not be limited to this. When Jayden was already firmly attached to this toxic relationship, Ben's behavior became truly aggressive and cruel. Once, when they were walking with the girl's group of friends, he began to openly express his dissatisfaction with them. This was a typical manipulator tactic, trying to isolate his victim from a close environment and friends. Unfortunately, Jayden did not realize what was happening at that time. Each claim or reproach from Ben made her feel guilty. She really began to believe that it was her behavior that was the cause of all misunderstandings and conflicts. It was then that Jayden first dared to stand up to her boyfriend. She defended her right to communicate with friends, which caused Ben's furious anger. He resorted to a variety of manipulative techniques to make the girl quarrel with her friends. Jayden tried with all her might to maintain these friendly relations, but gradually everyone began to turn away from her because of the toxic behavior of her boyfriend. Despite everything, feelings for Ben did not fade, although his behavior was becoming more and more outrageous. Once, he even allowed himself to hit Jayden in the face. And although it was obvious that such behavior could not be justified, Ben managed to convince the girl that she was to blame and deserved it. Jayden's family saw that their daughter and sister was in a toxic relationship with a very dangerous person. Her mother and father were worried about her and tried to get through, but the girl found herself in a state of constant conflict between family and her beloved. Infatuation clouded her mind, and she repeatedly chose Ben. Gradually, his behavior became more and more inadequate and unpredictable. After one of the quarrels with Jayden, he caught a neighbor's cat and brutally killed it by cutting off its head. With this act, Ben wanted to take revenge on the girl, so he threw the head of the innocent animal into her bed. Jayden was shocked and horrified by this turn of events, but even after that, Ben managed to confuse her and make her doubt the reality of what happened. Ben masterfully played the role of a lover, but behind his charming smile hid a truly dangerous personality. Ben did not stop at threats regarding Jayden's pet. He went even further, stating that he could just as easily take the life of the girl herself and her entire family. Young Parkinson, due to her limited life experience, simply could not recognize signs of a serious mental disorder in such behavior. Meanwhile, Ben continued to manipulate the inexperienced teenage girl, to prove the seriousness of his intentions. Once when Jayden tried again to escape his total control, the young man brutally dealt with her own cat, which was pregnant. This horrific event became the last straw for Jayden. She finally became convinced that her chosen one was an extremely dangerous person, but the girl was completely at a loss. She simply did not know how to solve this problem and end the relationship without catastrophic consequences. Ben kept her close to him using all possible methods of influence. Threats became a powerful lever of pressure on the teenager's psyche. In fact, at that time, Ben had long been in the field of view of law enforcement officers. The guy's life was quite difficult and full of criminal adventures. For a long time, he was engaged in petty crimes for which he repeatedly got into police stations. Ben, raised in a foster family with strained relationships and subjected to severe mistreatment by a stepfather suffering from alcoholism, grew up in an environment marked by fear and hardship. This traumatic upbringing left a significant mark on his psyche. His troubling behavior soon became evident to his family, culminating in a violent outburst where he threatened his mother with a tool. Instead of pursuing legal action, his mother chose to seek help for him, leading Ben to a psychiatric clinic. During a session with a psychiatrist, Ben, then around 13 years old, revealed disturbing thoughts about committing a crime and hiding evidence. His fascination with such topics alarmed the psychiatrist, who sought to understand Ben's mindset. Despite his young age, Ben discussed in detail how to avoid detection after committing an offense. Jayden's involvement with Ben began when he was already showing signs of dangerous behavior. Ben's control over Jayden escalated to extreme levels, including manipulation and coercion. He isolated her from her family, coerced her into dishonest actions, and subjected her to constant humiliation. Jayden, feeling trapped, was unable to escape his control, even after she ran away from home and moved in with him. The situation continued with regular mistreatment, and Ben's control over Jayden grew more oppressive. He monitored her every move, restricted her freedoms, and used psychological and physical methods to maintain dominance. Jayden, emotionally dependent on Ben and fearful for her family's safety, remained in the relationship despite its toxicity. In November 2013, Jayden made a desperate attempt to escape the difficult situation by seeking refuge in a homeless shelter. However, Ben tracked her down and continued to exert control. The shelter staff eventually helped Jayden recognize the severity of her situation and encouraged her to break free from Ben's influence. As Jayden began to regain control of her life, Ben's anger intensified. He attempted to sabotage her new relationship and damage her reputation by distributing personal photos and videos he had collected during their relationship. At that time, the legal system did not adequately address such actions, leaving Jayden with little recourse for justice. Despite the relentless mistreatment, Jayden resisted succumbing to despair and sought a way to rebuild her life. Jayden discovered she was expecting a child and hoped that this new development would help mend her relationship with Ben and bring positive changes. Believing that motherhood might soften Ben's demeanor, she informed him of her situation on December 3, 2013, using someone else's phone as Ben had taken hers. Ben, however, reacted with disbelief and suspicion, accusing Jayden of deception and attempting to manipulate him. Despite Jayden's attempts to reassure him, Ben remained unconvinced and the conversation led to a planned in-person meeting to discuss the matter further. Jayden, feeling hopeful, had recently shared her news with her mother, who was pleased to hear that Jayden felt free from the toxic relationship and planned to support her. However, Jayden did not disclose the full extent of Ben's past behavior to her mother, fearing it might provoke Ben's aggression. On the day of the meeting, Jayden met Ben at Oxford Station and followed him to a rural area near Didcot, believing they were going to a peaceful location to talk. Their journey was captured on CCTV, and Jayden was last seen at Didcot Station. During their meeting, Ben's behavior became increasingly hostile. He accused Jayden of dishonesty about her pregnancy and, once they reached a secluded area, his aggression escalated. He led Jayden to an old, abandoned barn where he abruptly attacked her. Ben's actions became violent and intense, resulting in Jayden's death. Following the incident, forensic experts were unable to confirm the pregnancy due to the lack of conclusive evidence. The investigation left uncertainties about the veracity of Jayden's claims regarding her pregnancy. Ben's actions led to a significant and tragic outcome. The police investigation into Jayden's death revealed the grim details of what had transpired. Despite the evidence of Ben's violent behavior and the circumstances of Jayden's death, the case faced numerous challenges. In the absence of concrete evidence confirming Jayden's pregnancy, and with the complexities surrounding the details of the crime, the legal process was fraught with difficulties. The authorities worked to piece together the events leading up to Jayden's death, but the lack of clear evidence made it challenging to fully understand and address all aspects of the case. Ben's history of aggression and manipulation, combined with the tragic end to Jayden's life, highlighted the broader issues of domestic abuse and the urgent need for support systems for victims. The case drew attention to the importance of addressing and preventing such situations, as well as the need for comprehensive legal measures to protect those at risk. As the investigation continued, the community and Jayden's family were left grappling with the aftermath of the tragedy. The case served as a stark reminder of the severe consequences of abusive relationships and the critical need for intervention and support for individuals in dangerous situations. In the end, the story of Jayden and Ben became a tragic example of how unresolved issues and harmful behaviors can lead to devastating outcomes. It underscored the importance of addressing domestic violence and providing help and resources to those affected, aiming to prevent such tragedies in the future. Ben hoped that by establishing a relationship, he could improve his situation with Jayden. However, the need to dispose of the body became urgent. As he sought to commit the crime without leaving traces, lacking proper tools, Ben returned home to gather what he needed. CCTV footage from the railway station showed Ben returning alone from the fields and boarding a train. A few days later, he returned to the crime scene, this time accompanied by his younger brother, Jake, who had recently turned 17. Jake, with no prior criminal record, was unwittingly involved in Ben's actions. Likely out of fear, Jake followed Ben's orders to dig a hole near the barn. Ben lied to Jake, claiming he was hiding a weapon. Once the pit was ready, Ben disposed of Jayden's body and covered it with dirt, but the situation didn't end there. On December 9, 6 days after the murder, Ben returned to the site to retrieve the partially decomposed body. He packed the remains into an old suitcase and took a taxi to a cemetery where he had prepared a grave. The investigation into Jayden's disappearance began after her family reported her missing on December 4, 2013. Law enforcement launched a thorough search, and Ben's behavior and alibis came under scrutiny. His aggressive and evasive responses during questioning raised suspicions. A taxi driver who had seen Ben with a large suitcase provided crucial information. Investigators, along with dog handlers, found the suitcase in a barn near the cemetery. Jake's involvement came to light when he admitted to being coerced by Ben to dig the pits, though he claimed ignorance of the full extent of Ben's actions. Jayden's body was found on December 19. The autopsy revealed she had been strangled and sustained severe injuries. Ben, who was in custody, later confessed to the crime but claimed mental illness as a defense. Psychological evaluations refuted this claim, and Ben was charged with premeditated murder and desecration of a body. During the trial, numerous witnesses testified to Ben's cruelty and manipulation. Forensic experts indicated that Ben had strangled Jayden multiple times, adding a disturbing layer to the crime. Ben's erratic behavior in court further indicated his lack of remorse. The jury found Ben guilty of premeditated murder. Despite his outburst and attempts to avoid the death penalty, he was sentenced to life imprisonment with the possibility of parole after 20 years. Jake was eventually exonerated of direct involvement in the murder, having been coerced by his brother. Jayden's family hopes her killer remains imprisoned, emphasizing the importance of addressing domestic violence from a young age. They advocate for awareness and education on recognizing and avoiding abusive relationships. This case highlights the need for vigilance and support for those in dangerous situations. Please share your thoughts in the comments and support the video with a like. We hope this story encourages you to stay attentive to the well-being of your loved ones. Subscribe to our channel for more insightful and real-life stories. Take care, and thank you for watching.